I didn't even mean that. I didn't even mean it. Mm. I don't know about you, but I have to have my coffee really, really hot. I love my coffee piping hot. Yes, young lady. Yes. Yes, thank you so much. I really appreciate your charm and your pleasant effort. I really do. The whole thing is just picturesque. Good morning. You have to see the view here, everybody, to get an idea. Okay, so I'm not playing around today. I'm going to jump right into this because yesterday we talked shit. Well, you didn't, but I did. I talked shit the entire fucking time, and I didn't do any music industry news. Today, I'm getting right into it. I'm getting right into it. So before we even, I do want to get back to our little inventions. Those were fun. I just wanted to jump in real quick. It's breaking news. It's complicated. It's drawn out. It's nerdy, but we got to go over it. Um, After all, this is really why I started this program is to look at stuff like this and present information in articles like this that maybe it would be difficult or challenging for you to do in your own free time. So that's why I'm doing it. Spotify subscriber base has grown by 3 million. Uh, that's 239 million in quarter one of this year. As the company, Spotify, posts its largest quarterly profit. Now, if you guys are all caught up, and I'm sure some of you are probably like, what the fuck is going on? This is going to be really hard for a lot of you to understand. When you see me talking about Spotify and digital service providers so critically, it's because for the last 12 years, I've been following a storyline. And that storyline comes from music stealing, and some of you forgot, but online music piracy. People don't know how we got streaming in the first place. It's not anybody's fault. But the reason why we have streaming was kind of just a temporary solution to stealing. It's just a streaming was the solution that developers and the music industry at that time, streaming was um, a slightly better option than pirating and stealing music. So that's why we have streaming today. We don't have streaming today because it was a cool invention and we all love it. We just hated stealing, and we still do. I mean, you wouldn't move in an apartment or a home if you knew that your neighbors were potentially thieves. You know, even in prison, stealing isn't popular. I mean, you don't want to get caught stealing from someone in prison because that's a guy that you're going to have to live with every day. You know what I mean? So, usually the most popular thieves are the ones um, that don't get caught. Uh, so, in this situation, stealing online assets and manipulating numbers and metrics is an easy way to steal if you're not a computer developer or code hacker, because that's how the music industry is governed and powered now, by symbols and numbers. And let's face it, the people that play the music aren't really the rock stars. It's really the guys that write the codes. It's really the guys that create the images. that they put on the dashboard in the application. Um, Remember, there was a time when people used to tease each other and say, you don't believe everything you read. Or they say you don't believe, you really shouldn't believe everything you see on TV. Well, now it's the same sort of thing with the internet and phones and stuff like that, right? So this has been an unfolding and emerging story for a very long time, everyone. And it needs to be understood and clear that we have streaming, and streaming is a conversation. It is a controversial conversation to begin with. Why is streaming so controversial? And that's because it's only one upgrade from stealing. They only move the needle from piracy to stealing to streaming. So we haven't moved the needle. But that's why we talk about it. Why is this important today? Because to bring you up to speed, until the previous quarter, musicians are paid quarterly through royalties. Our royalties are collected quarterly. I'll save that for another time. But just trust me. We don't get paid every week. Musicians don't get paid every month. We don't get paid a salary, We get paid, in this sense, mechanical royalties are allocated quarterly. The numbers are calculated quarterly. All right. All of this is important because you have to understand that Spotify has not reported a profit until the previous quarter, the fourth quarter of the last, the third quarter, of the last report. You hear what I'm saying? That's the first time, listen clearly, that's the first time the company had ever reported a profit. And a lot of reasons they claimed were because they were too busy paying artists. But that's a different discussion too. I just wanted to catch you up to date. So this is significant. This is unique. This is important because Spotify keeps raising their price and their premium tiers. Despite the rising prices, they're claiming here that the subscriber base grew to 3 million. And the company posts its biggest ever quarterly profit. So you're probably wondering why that's so significant also. And that's one thing I will say. In terms of the truth, Spotify readily makes their appearance available. They make their metrics available for the public. They make it more accessible than some of the other streaming sites. I will say that. But it brings up a question: if they're making so much money, if this is their biggest profit this last quarter, then you have to ask yourself, why are they having so many problems paying musicians? And why do musicians get paid less if they're making more money? How come subscription prices are going up on Spotify? And they're claiming here that the last quarter, despite the subscription price going up, somehow poorer people were able to afford the price hike and become a subscriber in the last quarter. 3 million people is a lot of people. Um, and then at the end, they're saying here that Spotify is also saying and reporting that this is the most money that they've ever made since the company, um, since the company was founded. It just makes me ask the question, you know, are you really getting those profits? Or are you just reporting that this is the most money that you've ever made because you need investors to believe in you? I mean, if you're a company and you report that you're not making any money, if you say, man, we've been around for 10 years and we've never made a profit, your fancy friendships are at risk. And if they're making so much money and this is their biggest profit, then I'm sure they have enough to share with the musicians, right? Let's just talk about it quickly and we're going to move on from it because there'll be more emerging on this. I just wanted to get you up to date with all things Spotify. Spotify, with its new global premium subscriber base, grow to 239 million paying users in Q1. Let's face it, I mean, there's no way to tell if that's true or not. And achieved its biggest ever quarterly profit in the 3 months to end of March. I mean, Spotify is kind of like a celebrity. People look at Spotify and they worship Spotify more than the musicians that are even on the platform. Most people that listen to Spotify will defend Spotify before they'd ever get behind any local musician or working musician trying to make a living. People defend Spotify and all their fucked up behaviors. They defend them like they're paying a light bill. I just think it's interesting because celebrities and bands all have this responsibility at times to keeping this mystique and mystery around them. That's true for celebrities because celebrities and rock stars depend on a little mystery, on a little magic, on a little mystique to kind of amplify and magnify their image to the audience. That's why we have big hair and the big lights, all that amplification, quite literally. But here, the big celebrity, Spotify, no one ever questions them in terms of the magic and the mystique. To me, some of these companies, some of these labels, some of the managers, even PR companies and internet radio companies, and all these people on Facebook who swear and claim to be loyal, all these companies and people on social media who claim to be loyal to independent music and working musicians. And they have more of an appetite and ambition for attention and fame more than the musicians even do. Some of the A&Rs, the labels, the social media promotion pages, internet radio companies, and role player managers on Facebook, music moguls and tastemakers alike, they all seem to desire more of the spotlight. They seem to desire more attention than the artists they represent. Spotify reminds me of that. According to the company's latest financial results for quarter 1, 2024, filed today, the 23rd, in which Spotify reported that its premium subscriber base was up 14% year over year and up 3 million net subscribers on the 236 million that Spotify counted at the end of the prior quarter, Q4 2023. Spotify reported that its premium subscriber growth was led by continued double-digit year-over-year growth across all regions, as well as growth in its family and duo plans. Spotify breaks down its premium subscriber base by region within its investor presentation. You see what I just said? You see, I said that earlier. Spotify breaks down its premium subscriber base by region within its investor presentation, reporting that Europe accounted for 38% of its total premium subscriber base in Q1. North America accounted for 27%. There you have it. What do y'all think? Good morning. What do you guys think? This is what we do. I know sometimes we chat and we shoot the shit and go crazy on here, but this is the real reason why we're here. And so we can stop pretending that we know about the music industry. We could stop sitting in circles in the lunchroom or at break time and having conversations about this stuff and everybody role playing like we know something about it. You can come right here every morning at 10:30 and learn about the actual and real music industry. So that way, when you go back to these circles and everyone is role-playing music mogul, I mean, because the pressure to be a fucking expert in everything today is so overwhelming that most people sit in a circle and just talk bullshit. There's no time for people to learn or research, or so they claim. There's not enough free time or space for people to do their own homework, or so they claim. And how do I know that? Because most people are subscribing to products, to people, to networks, to gadgets that do things for them. Just because we subscribe to so many gadgets and so many apps that are supposed to take over our real world tasks and prevent us from doing chores so we can free up time to be experts? About what? This is what I'm trying to tell y'all. Most of the stuff that I've acquired is acquired daily. It takes hard work. You got to stay committed. You got to read a lot. You have to talk with a lot of people. And you have to stay transparent. Because the music industry, along with the tech industry, is evolving each day, you know? Anyhow. Hans says, some people love to manipulate the numbers and inflate till they pop and figure it out. You know what? I'll go one even more than that. Musicians inflate the numbers because they believe that they won't be allowed in the industry if they don't. It's the same reason why certain bands won't play with other certain bands. It's the same reason why. It's because none of these bands are invested in making music. If you're invested in making music and you are truly invested in your craft, in your audience, and your passionate fans, then I promise you, you will be so busy you won't have time to be competitive. Because when we are competitive at our level in the industry, you see, they depend on the littlest guys becoming competitive. So we don't free up time to become educated. You see what I just said? If we remain competitive with each other as local and regional bands, then we will never learn to work together and be more than what we already are. If we are distracted and competitive, we are always wound up in trying to outdo each other, if we are wrapped up in a man-made competitive behavior, if we are chasing man-made numbers and man-made products and a man-made music industry competition, if we are chasing these man-made ideas, if the majority of people are chasing around ideas that are terrible distractions, then we will never gain the courage to contribute working together in a way where we free up time, where we put competition aside and free up our time as musicians to share education and share the spotlight. We will have less time investing in competitive, distracting behaviors, and we will have more time utilizing and sharing our value, our resources, our knowledge. We will make better use of our time, our spare time, and our free time. The longer that we are distracted by competitions, the less free time that we have as musicians at our level, DIY and independent. We will have less resources. We will have less resources, time, quality, and energy to invest into each other, our fans, and the scene. Megadeth and Metallica don't compete with each other in a professional way because they have learned over the years that it segregates the fans. It's common sense that if you have great bands on stage with healthy fan bases, that it's only going to add to the show. There's nothing to fear in uniting for the common cause of success. But that's why we're doing the show, so we can learn about this. Because every time that independent musicians and artists treat music like a man-made competition, all the musicians at our level never reach our full potential because we're too distracted with making music for the wrong reasons. We're too busy trying to one-up each other. Oh, thank you, Ashley. It's just silly stuff, you know. You guys all make a really good point. Ashley says, I put my money on YouTube Music. I don't use Spotify anymore. I stopped using it 3 years ago. They don't get a profit from me. Well, can I tell you something? Smart musicians appreciate you. Hey, Rich, how's it going? How's it going? So, not to bore you to death, but let's talk about it. More Spotify news. Why is Spotify's latest price hike? Why Spotify's latest price hike means a lower royalty rate for U.S. songwriters. Just read it. So here, I just want to show you guys this. When I reveal news about the music industry, I think that there is a very small group of individuals that think I'm just making this stuff up. Or maybe that this news is emerging yearly or monthly or quarterly. I talk about what you see on the screen so much because that is these are the trending hot topics in the music industry. These are the big questions. These are the conversations going around in the hallways in the evening and in the mornings, each morning, daily in the music industry. So that's why I have the screen pulled up for everyone to see. See, some of you can realize that when I'm talking about this stuff online, it's because it's happening every day. You know what I mean? So I know how it is. You know, if a bank is robbed every day, people go, oh man, we're so tired of hearing about bank robberies. But the thing is, if we don't talk about bank robberies, just more banks will be robbed. It's not really, you're not finding a solution by sweeping under the rug. Why Spotify's latest price hike means a lower royalty rate for U.S. songwriters? By adding audiobooks to Spotify's premium tier, the streaming service says it qualifies for U.S. mechanical royalty rate discount. So that's a nice little hack. Spotify put audiobooks on Spotify, justifying the price hike, and also getting a discount by doing so. I mean, this is just scumbag shit. You'd never realize. By adding audiobooks to Spotify's premium tier, the streaming service says it qualifies for a U.S. mechanical rate discount. The NMPA calls it potentially unlawful. There they are. I just wanted to show you how they justify the price hike. You know, I read that last article to you. Hopefully you guys can piece them together. But that's the reason why I wanted to share it with you, is because a lot of people invested into Spotify, independent artists, labels, A&Rs, whoever. Humanity has invested into Spotify for the last 20 years. And most of us joined or participated in Spotify believing that it was a music player. We thought that it was a music streaming app. Most of us bought into Spotify because they promised that musicians would be able to make a living while using this app. You know, that's why we are all involved in this now. Because at one time they claimed that Spotify was a music application for people who love music. And it was an application that was going to help independent artists make a living. And we know that most artists pay subscription fees and premiums that cost more than Spotify's willing to pay. Simply put. Oh, we got to get back to this. I'm going to take a short break so I can just step away briefly, but I'll be right back. I got to figure out where we were. This is where we were. One thing I gotta have while I'm doing this is fresh coffee. That's for sure. Replying to Ashley, I refuse to. John says to Ashley, I refuse to pay any kind of music in video streaming services, not until artists get their fair share. I appreciate that. Yo, and here's the thing, like, um, we would rather people listen to our music for free rather than complete strangers get to make a living off of our music. Like, I would rather my fans play my music for free rather than some company of complete strangers being a middleman. I don't need a middleman for that. I can't wait for our record label contract to be up. We're gonna do some different shit, y'all. We're gonna change the world with this. You'll see. One more year. One more year. We got some surprises coming. That's why we're really careful about how we're releasing music right now, because um, as these contracts and these different responsibilities for us come to a close, we have a lot of opportunity, and I really hope to share it with you guys. Well, I mean, regardless, I will, but I hope to share it with you sooner than later, is what I mean. Yo, what up, Malcolm? Dude, yo, I tuned in last night, man, and I was like, sorry if I had too much coffee. I was like, it was like in coffee mode. The conversation was strong, and I was like, oh man, Malcolm, you were hitting on stuff and talking about everything, and I was like, yes, this is. I just love what y'all doing, man. I wish all I can say is more. You know when people say less is more? No, the fuck it isn't. More is fucking more. What? Less is never more. Better's better. More is more. I get it. I get it. I get to play on English, but more is more. Stop playing around with shit like that. Start confusing motherfuckers. All right. I promised that I was going to blast through this stuff today, so I'm doing it. I'm doing it. Thanks for listening to About Boring Spotify. I had to do it because that's the music industry. That's what they're talking about today. If anybody wants to have access to the blogs, the articles, the mailbox news, I get this stuff every day mailed to me. I get it in my inbox every morning. Social media news, recording, producing, streaming, social media. I get like a whole bunch, hundreds of, technology news and music industry news, and that's where I get my information from, you guys. It's not that I just sit here and play guitar in my bedroom and then come up with shit. Hey, Sal's in the house. Sal's in the house. Let's get to these little gadgets, because I was having so fun with this, and I don't know, I stopped. We started talking about the music industry and the world, and well, it is William versus the world, so I guess that's fitting. So the last few days we've been doing these really cool inventions in 2024. I thought it'd be something different. We also do technology, so I figured I'd just run through some of the ones that we've seen. This instantly back up and protect all your photos and video. It's called the Photo Stick Omni. It's really cool. I'm actually thinking about maybe getting Lexi one. And then we had this Auden Atom. We thought this was awesome. If you guys don't remember the story about Melissa being deaf in one ear, we have been looking for a hearing aid for her for years. Yeah, she can barely hear out of one ear, and we have been looking so hard for a solution to help this kid hear. And I'm like, wow, maybe this is it. Under $100. If you guys don't even know, hearing aids cost like $2,000, $3,000, $4,000. Then this is my favorite one, Bond Dick. Bond Dick. It really is the name of it. I don't know why. I probably would have named it something different, but it's like super glue. But it's light. it fuses with light. It's pretty cool. It's like some space shit. But look, you apply the liquid formula to the damaged area and shine the UV light on it, and voila, it hardens into fucking rock solid clear plastic in 4 seconds. Then there was this cool like back sticker. You slap it on your back, and it's got, it's got fucking. I'm trying to look at the. It claims to be a technology that has these like billions of microcapacitors, and they work together to relieve pain. It's like some futuristic acupuncture shit. Then these peeps, not the marshmallow kind, but these are like windshield wipers for your glasses. It's eyewear cleaner. It's pretty cool. And now I'm finally caught up on this iMemories thing. Because that's what we need is another phone, right? Or some shit. Crank up the mic 1 notch. Really? I mean, do you guys think the microphone should be louder? Or is Hans just saying that? See, when one person says that, I can't listen to them because your phone could be fucked up. You know what I mean? If one person's like, oh, I want you to turn up the microphone, then I turn up the microphone and go listen back, and it's all fucked up. So, not to discredit anybody's ears, but for all I know, you woke up on the wrong side of the bed and you need to clean out your. How do I know that my microphone doesn't sound good? I need more people to tell me that. Larry says artists should be subscribed to the music industry publications and study them on a daily. Are you listening to what Larry is fucking saying? Larry just fucking said it. If I say it, everybody goes, okay, well. No, look, Larry said it. If you don't want to listen to me, listen to Larry. Stop fucking playing with me. iMemories. As if we didn't have enough things. iPhone, iBrush, iPad, iMemories. Me. Selfie. Save your home videos and photos to digital so your family can enjoy them anywhere. If your family's like mine, each family member has boxes and bins full of old home videos and family photos stashed away, gathering dust. Did you know those precious memories are in danger from being lost forever? Forever and ever. 11:11, motherfucker. What do we got here? All right. What do we got here? Let me see. Let me send this kid. I'm gonna send. I think we're live on Facebook or whatever the fuck it is. I do a live music education, technology, and social media stream every morning at 10:30 if you're bored ever. It's my kid. He likes shit like this. All right, oh, Malcolm, that was dope. I wish that I was there. That's the only thing I would say. So I wasn't like, I felt like I was trying not to like interrupt. it's so weird because like you want people to interrupt you in the chat, right? So I'm like, nah, man, I'm gonna keep chatting because that's what's good for the chat. That's what's good for the stream. You know, the more people chat, the better it is for the streamers. It's really true. You know, the technology realizes that what's supposed to be happening is happening. Thank you, Larry. Seriously. That's why me and Spotify have a relationship whatsoever. All right, I'll get back to these. I swear to God. Let me just read this again. Um, so yeah, let's not forget we're still on I stupid. I learned the hard way that VHS tapes lose picture and sound over time, slowly turning to static. Oh man, you mean you thought they were forever? Like who was dumb enough to think that cassettes were forever? Who is dumb enough to think that MySpace is forever? Who was dumb enough to think that vinyl was going to be the dominant way that we're going to listen and experience music? Who thought radio, who thinks radio has played music in the last 100 years? You don't know anyone that plays on the fucking radio. Even the bands that chart, even the bands that we know at our level that get on the billboards, you never fucking ever hear them on the radio. There's never a confirmation except for when these guys are sitting with their cell phones knowing that it's going to play because they bought radio submissions to terrestrial, college, and commercial radio. They bought their way into XM and they got the fucking cell phone lined up, ready to record a reel to prove it to all of their friends and family at home on social media that they've made it in the fucking music industry. Please. If I see another fucking weird artist staring at the phone trying to get a shot of them playing on Rock 101, give it up. They don't play new music. They don't routinely or regularly play good music. They only play the music that's contracted. And sure, if you grease somebody's balls over there in the mailroom, an XM radio or breakout artist, how come you never seen these artists break in? They'll celebrate these emerging artists and they never go on rotation. Anyhow, nice try. VHS tapes were not forever. CDs aren't forever. Radio was never forever. And you want to know something else, you fucking goofballs out there that can't get it? Streaming is also not forever. Everything that you've gotten comfortable with, you dummy, is not forever. Things come and things go, just like that. And I can prove it because the dinosaurs never came back. Shit that comes into existence and then is removed from reality doesn't come back. Just remember, I told you that. Anybody else who tells you anything separate is a fucking weakling. You're a fucking weakling. The dinosaurs have never come back, and you're just too human to deal with it. You're too emotional. You're holding on to your favorite cartoons. You're holding on to the time in your life when you were developing your identity. That's why you've listened to no new bands. That's why you don't fuck new bitches. That's why you don't travel to new places. That's why you don't have any new hobbies. That's you guys. I don't live like that, believe me, but you guys do live like that. I discover bands every day. I continue to discover, I continue to read, and I encourage everybody to do the same thing. Live your life to the fullest. There's no statute of limitations on you building yourself, or you gaining knowledge, or you increasing friendships, or you moving the needle in your life every day. You're either dying your life or living your life. So stop holding on to times in the past when you were developing your identity. Stop holding on to a time in your past that is so unrecognizable to you because your brain wasn't even developed. Stop worrying about what it was like when you were a child. Stop worrying about what it was like when MySpace was out. And don't worry, there will be something new. When I talk about streaming, sometimes it comes in the form of complaints and things that we should make adjustments to. But rest assured, it is not the type of complaint where I fear that streaming will be here forever. In fact, the reason why we talk about it so much here is because I'm trying to educate my friends and people that are intelligent enough to understand that dinosaurs don't come back, that streaming is not forever. And we need to prepare for a music industry without Spotify. I'm going to leave it at that. I don't even need to talk about it anymore. I've done surveys at work, and out of 25 people I surveyed, 2 out of 25 use Spotify. There's no question it's popular. Spotify is popular, but so is fucking herpes. Spotify is popular. The idea of streaming is popular. So was slavery. Slavery was an idea that everybody went with. Even though they knew it was fucking wrong, neighbor to neighbor, people knew it was disgusting. People knew that it was sick and it was inhumane. People knew that they were stealing. People knew that they were raping. People knew that they were abusing people, and they didn't give a fuck. And they didn't give a fuck because the majority of people around them weren't holding each other accountable. That's the same thing with musicians. There's no musicians out here speaking openly and boldly about the music industry, about streaming, about crime, about abuse, about the bullshit that happens every day in local and regional music. I am it. There is no other live stream. There is no other influencer. There are no local bands, celebrities, amateurs, professionals. There is no one that is coming on the internet like I do and look you in the fucking face and tell you what it is. There is not one person, not your favorite rapper, not your favorite band, no one. There are no musicians that are coming on telling you guys, the fans, the truth about it. Sepsis is the only band that is telling the truth. No one is telling you the truth about the music industry. That's what it is. And if you ever want to know why bands don't want to play with us, it's because they're scared that we're going to tell the truth. They're scared we're going to find out the truth and say something. That's what it is. Nobody wants to talk about it because they are fucking scared to death, coward baby shit. They are fucking scared. And I am not. Musicians are scared that they will lose access to an industry that they're not in. I don't give a fuck. That's what it is. We pretend like we are united. We talk like we are on Facebook. That is not real. If that were true, the most popular and talented bands on Facebook would be playing with each other, right? Write down in the chat and fucking tag them if you got the fucking balls. Put them in the chat. Tag 20 to 100 of the most successful bands that you can think of on Facebook that have no obstacles playing with each other. If you agree that the most successful DIY and independent bands should be playing with each other, then fucking tag them. And then after you tag them, I want you to ask them if they even bother to talk to you, because most of them won't. Go and talk to all the bands at our level. And I want you to ask them, go talk to the most successful bands on Facebook and ask the bands that resemble us, ask the bands that have our numbers, ask the female-fronted bands, ask all the bands that pretend that we are in a community, ask all the bands that pretend that we have a metal community, ask those bands that keep saying that, ask them who is in that community, who is in this metal community that we're all in on Facebook. Name those bands. Find the top 25 most successful the top 25 most successful bands on Facebook that should be working together and fucking tag those cowards and ask them what is preventing them from playing with each other. What is preventing them? And I'm going to tell you what it is. They are fucking scared to share the spotlight. They are scared to find out that somebody is more talented. They are afraid of each other. Why are they afraid of each other? They're so afraid of each other, they won't even admit it. Oh, come on. Y'all already know. And it's fine. Stay in your corner. I don't give a fuck. I'm just talking about it so we can finally get to the bottom of the truth. It's just saying that who cares if it's good news or bad news? I don't even give a shit. Sepsis has never been invited, so I will never give a fuck. It doesn't matter to me. But it does matter to the greater world. It does matter to people in my band. It does matter to the community. It does matter to the fans. It does matter to my fans. It does matter to our friends and family. So, the issue is not with fans. The issue is not with venues. The issue is not with promoters. Musicians would like you to think that. It's the musicians. We won't play with each other. Why wouldn't, if Sepsis got 20 fans, and Nailbite's got 20 fans, and Dying Oath's got 20 fans, and Over Enemy's got 20 fans, and let's just say, for example, these are the most professional and worthy bands that we have on Facebook. Why aren't they playing together? Why can't people form or unite to prioritize the show for fans? And I'm going to tell you why. Competition. Because amateur bands have been taught, and they think that the music industry is a fucking competition, dude. That's what it is. It's the main feature. There is no good competition. Bullshit. Because you can't show me a shred of evidence where competition and competitive attitudes about money, about fame, and popularity has helped these fucking brats on Facebook. I'm waiting. If competition was so good in local and regional metal, then the most competitive bands would be playing together. Fine, competition's good. Okay, then why aren't the most competitive bands playing with each other? Guess who one of those bands are? Guess who one of those bands are? I am in one of the most competitive bands, and I want to play on stage with the most competitive bands. If you claim one more time that the music industry is competitive, then you must include me. I want to compete then. If being competitive in the music industry is so good for the music scene, then let's compete then on stage. Why aren't the most competitive bands playing with each other if competition is so good? If battling Megadeth was so good for Metallica, then why don't they go on stage and battle? If Spirit Box would gain out of being competitive and catty and bratty with other female-fronted bands, then they'd be doing it, you guys. If professional bands battled or competed with each other and it didn't segregate the fans, they would do it. But the fact is, competition in the music industry is personal because you're dealing with people making a living. When you're dealing with people trying to make a living, this is the issue. You've got some people that are on Spotify that will never and have never had any plans on ever living as a professional musician. They never plan on going out on tour. They never plan on building a fan base. They never plan on having merch. They never plan on stepping foot on stage. Yet, there are artists, and I don't have a problem with it. I'm just telling you the truth. There are artists on Spotify that have 3 billion plays that you've never heard of and you will never see on stage. There are artists that have 3 billion plays that are just rich dudes that make music on their computer. They got money, they make music on their computer, and they got a whole bunch of cash to throw at it. You're never going to see them on stage. We don't have to debate whether they're real musicians or they're good or not. Just understand that there are rich and privileged people that are on their phones that upload music and media to the internet. And because they're rich, because they have money, because they're privileged, because they have fancy friendships, they succeed in the music industry. While there are other musicians that don't have riches and fortune and fame that are trying to pursue a music career. So some people are on Spotify playing games and having fun and playing with their money and playing the music lottery, trying to go viral, where you have a different kind of musician that's literally trying to pay the light bill. And that's why the music industry is fucked up. But far too often, we are told that there's some sort of version or brand of competition in the independent music industry that is helpful to us. And I'm willing to hear that if you can show me some evidence where being rich, being viral, being famous, or trying to make a living didn't turn artists personal. See, competition is fine when there is sport and there is good sportsmanship. And frankly, that's why in professional sports, people get a check whether they win or lose the game. But it doesn't work that way in music. See, in the NFL, you don't have rich, spoiled brats that have a bunch of money and can just get on the basketball court or get on the field. See, in music, if you're a rich, spoiled brat, you can get on the field and play the sport. But that's why there's a lack of sportsmanship, because musicians that are trying to make a living don't trust the sport. Because amateurs can play the sport. And if amateurs lack the physical ability to play music, they can just do so on a computer. You can't play football on a computer. You can't become a 250-pound physical athlete on the computer. But you can mimic being a musician with your phone or computer. And that's fine. I don't have a problem with it. But what I'm saying is people that mimic being a musician and play with their computer are a lot different than somebody that invested themselves, studied the guitar their entire lives, and invested every single working dollar they've had into their career to pursue making a living. What the fuck? That's what I'm saying. So anytime competition is introduced when people are trying to make an honest living, it's fucking toxic. There's never been any case, there's never been any sign that competition at the local, independent, DIY musician level has ever been valuable for local or regional musicians. There is no evidence that that has brought us any closer. Competition has made bands more fearful to play with each other than ever. I've watched more people cry. I've watched more of my friends. I've watched more people get torn apart by me speaking out about Blue Ridge, or bands battling each other for Danny Wimmer's approval, the whole bit. It's never done us any good. It has never made us as a scene closer. It has never made us smarter. It has never made us kinder to each other. We haven't made any more money, and we haven't moved the needle. Look, 3 years of people doing band battles on Twitch for Danny Wimmer. Where are all those bands now? Where are they? What good did it do? How did their career, how did they move the needle in their own individual careers? And how did they add value to the scene by doing that? If you did move the needle in your individual career, then how did you improve the scene? And if you're here to be an individual, there's nothing wrong with that. Then stop claiming that you're here for the scene. So we can get down to brass tacks and we can say, fine, the bands that are masquerading, the promoters, the A&Rs, the people that are pursuing an individual music career, fantastic. They can go over there and do that. But we have far too many people role-playing and pretending like they're rooting and advocating and speaking on the behalf of DIY and independent musicians, as if to say that they are proud to be independents and they are proud to add value to the DIY. Well, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. They just don't want anybody else to know that. So the DIY independent industry can't also be owned by the music industry. You see what I'm saying? But you have far too many people out there with one foot on one side, and then they have their other foot in the other corner. And I'm trying to explain to people that there is no pathway to the music industry through true independence. And there is no pathway to true independence through the music industry. You're playing for two different teams. Because the music industry does not include sportsmanship. It just has competition. What do you guys think about that? I saw none of you tag any bands, and I'm glad you didn't because it's fucking embarrassing. I want you to tag 20 bands on Facebook that you think are the most talented. I want you to tag 20 bands on Facebook that you think it's crazy that we're not all working together. You don't have to tag my band if you don't think that we're included. I don't care who you do. Go on your own Facebook. Don't do it here. I know it'll embarrass you here and put you under the gun, right? This is half our problem, you guys. We're scared of each other. Go on your own Facebook and tag 20 bands on Facebook that you think it's stupid that we're not working together, and explain it. Ask us, what is preventing us from being successful? What is preventing your favorite bands on Facebook from playing with each other? What is it? If competition is so good for independent and local artists, then why aren't the most competitive bands on Facebook playing with each other? We all know who they are. Look at me. You know who you are out there. All the bands at our level with our follower count, all the bands that share similar fans with us, why aren't we sharing the stage? Why aren't we doing that? It's not a trick question. You need to ask that question because the most responsible people in the room are the ones that ask the questions. So if competition doesn't exist or competition is so fucking good for local and regional rock, then why aren't the top 25 bands on Facebook that you all know, love, and tag every day, why aren't they friends? Why don't we play music together? Why aren't we on tour together? Why aren't the most popular bands responsible for the greatest output right here on Facebook? Why are they not all in the same groups, on the same tours? It's because they fear each other. They're afraid of each other. They're afraid that being together and being united is going to ruin their chances at being in the music industry. That's what it is. Especially us. Most people don't play with us because I'm outspoken. And most people feel that if they play with Sepsis, that we're going to find something to be outspoken about. And most people think that if we find out the truth, we're going to talk about it. And they're right. So you're right. People don't want to play with people when we're addressing the conversations, when we're addressing the embarrassments and the abuse that's been happening to all of us, because most of these bands are depending on magic, secrets, and some sort of mystique that they can sell to you to try to convince you that they're already in the music industry and that they have the right to be competitive, that they are so far in the music industry that they only need to play with who they say, that they're so far in the music industry that they can pretend that competition is good. Competition for bands at our level has brought us nothing, and I can prove it because we have been a band for 14 years on Facebook. And we have watched them all come, and we've watched them all go, and we're going to watch it again. Because if you're making music for the sake of music, if you're making music for the right reasons, if you're prioritizing the right reasons in making music, you never have to worry about competition. Because if you are competitive in the music industry, if you choose to compete with your peers, if you choose to ignore your peers, when the music industry remains competitive, the bands and the fans lose. It's the bottom line. Yeah, but you know, if you ask some of these bands, if you bother to ask them, you might not be fans of them anymore because you might learn the truth yourself. There are no inclusive groups. Not in metal, Hans. Not in metal. There are no all-inclusive groups in metal except for the Swarm. Sepsis and the Swarm, we are an all-inclusive group in metal. There are no others. There are no others. There are no other groups right now that offer true inclusive community. No, they only offer inclusiveness when you align with their version and form, their behavior, their posture, their rapport, then it's inclusive. We are inclusive as long as you're not, you know, committing crimes on people and using hate speech. You know what I'm saying? Like, basically, like, no, heavy metal is not inclusive. Trust me. I'm African American. I'm telling you right now. You may not want to believe that, but if that was the case, you would see more diversity in hard rock and heavy metal. But hard rock and heavy metal, especially death metal and satanic metal, they go out of their way to be so dangerous and hateful and hurtful to people. They go out of their way to beat the shit out of people and push people and mosh attack people. They go out of their way to physically injure old ladies, usually weaker people, women, and people outside of the mosh pit. They go out of their way to be so terrifying and unpleasant that people don't want to be a part of metal, brother. That's all it is. Sure, there are tons, there are hundreds of thousands of diverse people that would love to be a part of heavy metal. But you know what? They can't afford the hospital bills. They don't like the Ku Klux Klan. They're not trying to, they're not trying to be abused or sexually assaulted. Everybody knows in rock and metal, sexual assault and the boys club, they protect their rapists. They protect their criminals, and they protect their sexual offenders in rock and roll a lot too. So rock and metal is not inclusive. I'm sorry. I wish it was, and we're working on that, but it isn't. Hmm. That's why everyone's encouraged to look a certain way. That's why everyone's encouraged to, play the game a certain way. And just as I mentioned before, um, a lot of bands don't play with us, and I don't give a fuck if they do. I'm just using us as a great example. That's not a complaint. That's why we stand on our own so well. Um, but a lot of bands, unless you look the part, if you got the right skin color, if you got the right tax bracket, then you can play the game. You know what I mean? If you have the right guitar tuning or you're doing what everyone else is doing, then it's acceptable. If you're shutting the fuck up and you're doing what you're told, then you're welcome open arms in the metal community. But if you speak out and you admit that it is not inclusive, that is filled with rapists, robbers, crimes, and you stand up to it, people don't want to play with you because they think it's going to ruin their chances at being friends with all the criminals. Like, why the fuck would you open up for a rapist? Do you know how many sex offenders are in heavy metal and rock and roll? It's a tradition in heavy metal and rock and roll to protect their sex offenders. Now, I'll say stuff like that and people go, "Oh no, Will, you ain't one of the boys." I don't want to be one of the boys. That's the thing. I don't get down with sex offenders. I don't get around with guys in the mosh pit that sucker punch chicks or ruin the show, and put somebody in the hospital that doesn't want to dance with them. No, I'm not into that shit. I'm not into bullying people, hurting people, and all of that. It's not my thing. So that's the thing with a lot of these bands. They want to be in with these groups and they want to be in with these clubs. They want to be accepted by people that host these behaviors, battles and competitions and intimidating people and fucking popularity contests. That's the local and regional heavy metal scene I know. Where they talk behind each other's backs, where they spread rumors about each other and genuinely cock block, and they leave before people's sets. That's the local region and the local metal scene I know. Bands that bring no draw, bitch and moan and fight over set times. A lot of privileged behaviors and people begging for encores. Again, leaving before the show's over. That's the metal scene I know. That's the metal scene I know. The metal scene where you'd stab somebody in the back to play on Metal Temple. You'd ignore a band. The metal scene I know is bands that are once friends would ignore each other and hate each other to be on their favorite show. That's the metal scene I know. The metal scene I know is bands poaching each other, stabbing each other in the back, promoters not paying the bands. That's the metal scene I know. You guys out there are all trying to create an image of the metal scene that I've never seen before. I've heard it all about us being united and being inclusive, and I've heard enough of that shit. By next year, me and Melissa have been in the same band for 15 years. And all the bands that used to pop shit and advertise that they're so inclusive, they've all broken up. I'm just keeping it a bean. I'm just keeping it real. All the bands, all the people 10 years ago, 5 years ago that were advertising, boasting and bragging how the metal scene was so united and how we all take care of each other and how inclusive it is. They're the same people sticking up for Marilyn Manson in the comment section after he settled out of court for sexual assault. I don't know an innocent man in my life that would settle out of court for a woman accusing him of sexual assault. The only time you admit and the only time that you settle out in court is when you know that you don't want to go stand trial and fight the details publicly, son. But not in hard rock and heavy metal. Not in hard rock and heavy metal, whether it be him or Elvis Presley. You guys love your sex offenders. You guys love your sex offenders. Love your bigotry. That's the rock and metal that I know. Oh, I'm not part of the boys club. Oh, wait. I don't give a fuck. Eat a dick. I don't fuck with that. That's why I speak so boldly, so heavily, because there are the majority of people, especially on Facebook, the Facebook bands, the Facebook rock and roll community, nobody is saying it. It's fake, it's false, it's phony. And it's filled with bands that are terrified to even play with each other. And nobody fucking says it. The actual community is a very small amount of fans that want more attention than the bands themselves, and the fans circle around and cycle around throughout the tides, and they instigate and they cause friction and they divide the bands. Social media, metrics, Spotify, band battles has destroyed the trust and absolutely fragmented the local scene more than ever. Because people are far more invested in looking successful than just playing music, dude. Just play the fucking music. No, man. The same bands play the same shows with the same co-headliners, the people that get along with us, the people that get along with each other in those little circles. The people that play the same venues at the same venues, the same bands, it's the same stuff, guys. And then and we get pockets and bursts of energy where we role play and we pretend like we're all together somehow. I'm calling bullshit. I'm calling bullshit. And I'm not going to do it now. You can do it yourself. Go and look at the bands on Facebook. Don't go nowhere else. Go right here on Facebook. Look at the bands that are responsible for putting out the most lives, the most posts, the most music. Look at those bands just on Facebook. Look at those bands. Look at the top 25 most successful bands on Facebook and ask yourself, how come none of them play together? And then I want you to ask another question. It's a bonus question. I want you all to go on Facebook and make a list of the top most promising, successful 25 hard rock and heavy metal bands, independent and DIY bands. I want you to go gather on a piece of paper or a list on your phone 25 to 30 of the most popular, successful Facebook bands that are responsible for the most energy and output of hard rock and heavy metal on Facebook. And I want you to ask yourself, what is preventing them from playing with Sepsis?